FLCC building. Oh, wait. It's all iconography.
Those are emojis.
Oh, yeah. It looks like Epcot.
I know.
It's epcot.dragon.school.
Yeah. Welcome to the Immersive Lens, the podcast exploring the technologies reshaping how we live, work, and learn.
From AI and virtual reality to creative media and design, we're diving into the tools and ideas shaping our connected world.
My name is Paul Engin. Join us as we uncover the people and ideas driving the next wave of interactive experiences.
And I'm Dave Ghidiu. This is the Immersive Lens.
And today we are joined by...
the woman of the hour, too sweet to be sour, the Tower of Power.
Oh my gosh, Amy Wight. Woo! Universal Design for Learning Specialist.
You got it.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
And you're going to have to explain what that means in a little bit. If you've listened to the podcast, we usually start with like some hot takes.
Yeah.
And then we'll get into some questions for you. Does that sound good?
Sounds great, yeah.
Okay. All right. Dave, do you want to start us off? Or
Yes, I'd like to issue an errata. Jeff and I both yelled at you for claiming that Duck Hunt was not a standalone cartridge on the NES. And you were right. Our fact checkers were scurrying through the records, and you are indeed right. It was sold as an individual game.
And for the record, it might have not been Duck Hunt. That's why I told you. I appreciate you bringing that up, but it was more of a metaphor for a cartridge taking over to a friends and playing than it was like the actual game.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure if it was Duck Hunt. So we talked about how PlayStation is removing discs. And so now we're talking, how can you share it with friends? And I mentioned I went and I used to take cartridges, and they put me on. They're like, "Which cartridge?" And I'm like, I said, "I don't remember. I think it was like Duck Hunt."
Duck Hunt.
And then they were both like, "No,
Liar."
I don't care. It was
not
a
Duck
cartridge."
So on behalf of Jeff and I, we sincerely apologize.
Yes, but no, I don't think Jeff ever really apologized.
Well, that's between you and him, then.
Okay.
But the apology has come through. You are
Now I feel better.
okay. Good. You just look so sad for the last week.
Yes.
Okay. My real hot take is about these open weight models for AI. So we understand the frontier models like Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, but a lot of companies, and Meta started doing this, where they would release what's known as open models that you could use them. And then a lot of Chinese companies started releasing what's known as open weight models. So an open model is just kind of like the information. The weighting of the model is all the levers that you can pull to make the connections tighter or looser and all that. So that's kind of like the secret sauce. So a lot of these Chinese companies have been releasing open weight models. And so then they become a lot cheaper, and they're almost as good as like these frontier models. So there's been one or two very recently that have been like astoundingly good, and probably GLM 5.2 is the most recent one from a company called Z.AI. And so those are on the market, and now we're starting to look at the geopolitics and look at like, well, listen, if I'm a company and I'm relying on, say, Mythos, and then all of a sudden the American government shuts it down, and maybe I'm a company in, say, like Europe, well, maybe we should be using other models that we actually have control over. So that's unfolding underneath our feet right now.
Interesting.
My only issue with that is just security, because I don't know. That would be my only, and I haven't used any of the foreign LLMs yet. So, and I assume that if you do use it in an infrastructure, you would run tests against it. But
yeah, and your instinct is right, because there have been studies that show, for instance, earlier on, and I'm not linking this to GLM,
right.
But there were some models that would produce biased results if you were, say, an adversary of the company, like the country that was releasing these models.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in AI News today or yesterday, OpenAI revealed advanced AI model went rogue during an internal cyber security test. So
Ooh, tell us more. This is like Terminator 2.
That's right. So I guess they had a sandbox which isolates their latest AI, and I guess they used 5.6 Sol, and then they have obviously internally a newer model, so it's unreleased, more advanced model, and they asked it in the sandbox to try to do an exploit. It's called a 0-day flaw. And it found a way to exit the sandbox.
Which is always scary.
Mm-hmm.
And then after looking at the internet and finding some credentials, it realized that Hugging Face, which is a repository for a bunch of code bases, had the information it needed, so then it could run what it wanted to run in the sandbox. So Hugging Face got attacked to try to get all of the information, but it's crazy to think this AI knew, go online, go to a repository that's open, and then pull the information it needs or learn the information it needs to run an attack.
Yeah, so the back half of that story is that OpenAI was using, I'm sorry, not OpenAI, Hugging Face has AI defenders, and because of the regulations, the voluntary regulations, those defenders were not able to defend, so they had to revert to GLM 5.2 as their internal defender.
Yes. So yeah, because the U.S. had blocks or something on what they could do.
It's
right?
like voluntary regulations, but it's like if you want to put it in the hand of companies, you kind of it's not voluntary. It's voluntary.
Yeah.
So I guess now they're working together with Hugging Face as a security partner to mitigate this in the future. But it just goes to show you, like, it's like you think you can control these things, but I don't think there's situations like this where you can't. And that's why when Anthropic said it's not going to allow certain things for the U.S. government to use, in my head I'm like, this is why.
This is the alignment
point, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So AI's goals were, in this case, were on exploiting something, reaching that benchmark. It wasn't on preserving, say, the integrity of anything.
Right. And I think that it's one of those things where it's interesting because you need to test this stuff in a sandbox, but it's really scary to think these can find ways out of that sandbox and out of your control. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Interesting. Hopefully we don't hear things going really bad with something like that, but I think it's just a warning or a heads up that we have to be aware of it. So, All right. Amy, are you ready for some questions from us?
I'm ready, yeah. Let's dive in.
We have so many questions.
All right, I'm ready for
them.
them.
It's going to be 2 or 3 hours.
Oh, man.
I had 4 reserved.
I need more coffee.
I know. Do you want to start off with the first question?
Yeah.
As I hit your mic.
If you weren't watching the video, then go to the website, theimmersivelens.com. So how did you find your way into universal? Actually, yeah. How did you find your way into universal design for learning? Was it a passion from the start, or did it evolve? Did you fall into it? Tell us your story.
My story, yeah.
Tell us your journey.
It was a little of both, honestly. I came from the education world. I started off in K-12 special ed. And, back in the day, 20-some years ago, when I was in grad school, the big thing they were preaching was differentiation. So universal design wasn't even talked about.
And for our fans, what's differentiation?
So differentiation is basically looking at students on an individual level and figuring out, okay, this student learns best in this way, these are the students' interests, and then tailoring your curriculum to the needs of those individual students. Which, when you're a special ed teacher with 5 students, is totally doable.
Oh.
You get to know them. You can figure out, this student is a really good visual learner. They do well with this kind of structure, and you can design that way. But when I moved from K-12 to higher ed, I soon learned when you have a class of 300 that it's not so feasible to figure out the individual wants and needs and learning styles of every student in the class.
Interesting.
So I worked for years in disability services, and I worked with students on getting accommodations in place. And our population, I worked at the University of Rochester, and our population went from 150 students when I started there to 1,500 by the time I left.
Across how many years?
11 years I was
there. Is that
there.
because diagnosis increased, or because there were just other issues that were...
A lot. I mean, there's a lot of things. I think that awareness increased, so people learned about... they could get accommodations or support. There was less stigma around it. We also had, I think, just kind of an explosion in mental health issues around that time too, during COVID. A lot
COVID,
went awry. Yeah. And so we had a lot of students seeking help who wouldn't have previously. But we soon learned that like you just can't keep doing this reactive model of slapping a Band-Aid on things. So sometime during that time frame I learned about universal design, and it just like clicked to me. As soon as I learned about it, I was like, this just makes sense. This is just, instead of trying to figure out each student's need or trying to slap a Band-Aid on every single little problem or issue that comes up in your course, let's think about designing intentionally from the beginning to remove as many of those barriers and challenges as possible so that all students can just walk in from day one and have equal access to the curriculum. And I was just like, wow, this just makes sense. Like, why are we not designing in this way?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think that piggybacks into this next one. For listeners who've never heard of this term, can you explain UDL in a like very simple manner?
Yeah. I mean, essentially what UDL is, it's a research-based framework to approach teaching, but it's basically about providing students with choice and agency over their learning and removing as many barriers as possible. So I like to think of it, I saw somebody once refer to, or like compare it to a GPS roadmap. So if you plug in on Google Maps how to get from here to home, it'll give you like the fastest route to get there, but it'll also give you like the route without tolls, and it'll give you the route with the scenic route if you want some views on the way. And UDL is kind of like that. So we're all working towards the same learning objectives. Students are still going to be learning and demonstrating their learning of the same skills or knowledge. But the way they get there can be a little different. So for some student, that might mean that they don't take a sit-down standardized test. They have a different way that they show their learning. For another student, it might mean that instead of reading chapters in a book, they can listen to podcasts or watch videos to get there. So we're still meeting that same learning goal, that same objective, but taking different routes to get there. And we're providing students with the choice of how they do that. So they can pick. Do I take the test? Do I write the paper? Yeah.
Yeah, I like that analogy of the GPS. That's really cool. I like it.
Yeah. I'd never heard that analogy, and I'm going to steal it if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you had said kind of like building from the ground up, but it's certainly possible to take an existing course and then intentionally build it into it, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not something
Thank goodness.
something you have to start over from scratch. It's definitely something that you can chip away at and add to an existing course or rebuild from scratch either way.
All right, and I have one more follow-up.
Yeah.
So I've heard the expression the curb cut like story for universal design, how like curb cuts were, where the curbs in cities kind of like dip down. So for instance, for wheelchairs.
Yeah.
And so that was an accommodation for a population, but then it turned out that like, oh, well, if you're on a bike, it's really good. Or if you have a stroller, or if you have a walker, or like there's just if you have like the snow plows that kind of like go up and down the sidewalk. So is it fair to say, like, do you agree with that assessment that universal design is something that can help like lift all tides?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, even just as an adult learner, I love when I'm provided choice in a class. Like if you gave me a choice of writing a paper or
anything else,
oral presentation, whatever it may be, I'm always going to pick something else.
Okay.
I find writing so unbearably frustrating and time consuming. Yeah. And, this is not from a disability lens, but just as a personal preference. I don't demonstrate my learning best that way. And we do know there's lots of situations, whether they're environmental or, you would think about students who are English language learners who benefit from a lot of those disability type accommodations, but don't actually have a disability. So 100%, it benefits every learner.
Awesome.
And how do you approach working with faculty who are skeptical or resistant or scared to changing how they teach or build their course?
Yeah, there's a lot of that out there. I think first and foremost, just acknowledging what they're experiencing and having some empathy for it. I think one of the big concerns people have around universal design or any new thing is just how much work is this going to be? How much effort is this? And is it really worth it? I think acknowledging that workload, I know everybody's overworked right now. There's a lot of burnout, and I get that. So one of the things that I like to do, I guess two approaches. Number one, I like to talk with faculty about, like, what are your pain points? Like, are there certain lessons or assessments or things where students are just not getting it? Like, your results aren't good, or are there certain topics where students are just checking out and they're not engaged anymore? So let's take a look at those and see if there is a place where we can insert just one component of universal design. So if it's like a class activity and students are just zoning out, not paying attention, can we add one additional way of approaching it? Like, could we make an interactive game out of it? Or could we add in a video that demonstrates the concept? Something like that. And just doing that +1 strategy.
Is that the Tom Tobin +1? Okay.
Yeah. I love Tom Tobin's +1 because I think it's just so achievable. Like, when you talk about retrofitting an entire course, it's overwhelming. But if you're talking about, like, all right, let's pick one activity or one assessment and add one different way of approaching it, like, it seems so much more tangible and doable than, like, this overhaul.
And then slowly just keep adding.
Exactly.
Versus, like,
Yeah, even if it's like a whole semester and that's the one thing you do, like, that's awesome. And then next semester you can try something else. Yeah, and just chip away.
I like that too because it will give me confidence. The first time I'd be like, I don't know, like, is this going to be hard? And then I do it and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess I could do it for the next assignment in the next chapter or something like that.
Yeah,
cool.
Absolutely.
Can you share a moment where you saw UDL generally transform, like, the experience of a learner?
Yeah.
Do you have a hardcore, like, cool example, like, very specific?
For me, I think it's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I back when I was at the U of R and I worked with students with disabilities, I actually had a student who, due to her learning disability, had requested to no longer do, it was an organic chemistry class. She was struggling to...
It's so hard.
She was struggling to finish the exams, even being given double time on the exams. It just wasn't working. So she came and talked to me and said, I just don't do well with these timed assessments. Like, this format's just not working for me. So I was like, let's go talk with your professor and see if there's something we could do. So we did. We went and spoke with him. Awesome guy. And he was like, yeah. He's like, what do you think would work for you? And she said, I'd rather do an oral presentation. If we can do like a Q&A back and forth, I feel like I can demonstrate my learning better that way than sitting down and writing an exam. And he's like, okay, no problem. Let's do it. So they did, and it worked fabulously for her. But the best part was he came back to me afterwards and said, can I open up this option for the other students in my class?
+1.
And I was like, absolutely. And he did, and he didn't have a ton of takers. He told me, I don't think most students prefer the oral presentation route, but he said he had a handful of about 5 or 6 of them that did it, and their grades shot up. And it was just from being given that choice, like that's the way they demonstrate their learning best. And it was 5 or 6 students out of a class of like 150. So it wasn't a huge or huge amount, but like to those 5 or 6 students, it was massively impactful.
Yeah, that's a fantastic story.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Yeah. And where do you see the biggest gaps in how institutions currently support diverse learners?
Yeah. I think, across higher ed in general, most institutions are still taking this kind of reactive, like what we call the medical model in the disability world, where we do a one-size-fits-all approach and then work with disability services or individual faculty to make things work for those individual students. So it really is just shifting the way that we're thinking about it into a more proactive approach and thinking about how can we remove those barriers from the get-go. I think one of the big challenges is most faculty don't have training in either universal design or basic even, pedagogy. Like a lot of faculty just come straight from their disciplines and they're experts in those areas, but maybe not experts in learning how to teach to a diverse audience.
Right.
So, I think the more that we talk about it and the more that we can provide training, especially onboarding training for new faculty to get them kind of up and running and here's some things you can try, I think that will be really helpful moving forward. But I know it's a slow process.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And, I know someone who's going to be heading up CTL next year. So,
who's that, Dave?
Me.
Paul Engin.
You're taking over. Oh, fabulous.
So we'll work together in creating some stuff for the faculty.
I like it.
Sure.
I love the example that you gave about the Orgo class because that's something, like if I read that in an email from the CTL, I'd be like, oh, I could probably do that.
Yeah.
Or I'd try something like that.
Yeah.
I'd be inspired.
Yeah, I think it's those little tangible things that I think will, because I think it's like AI, right? We always say, like, you got to just go in. Don't overthink it. Once you're in playing,
just try it.
Yeah. And then you'll start getting a hang of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of AI, has that changed the landscape at all? Their conversations about UDL?
Oh, 100%.
Tell us everything.
And good or bad?
I think mostly for good. I admit that I play in AI probably more than a lot of folks, but I think that from a UDL perspective in particular, I love it because it has made it really easy to create those multiple modalities. That's one of those things that back when I was teaching, if you had, like, say you had an article that you just really loved that It gave a really good overview of a concept. It's perfect. It's exactly what you want students to know. But then if you want to add that +1 and have another modality for students to access as well, you could spend hours like going through YouTube, watching videos, trying to find something that compares, and you're always like, this is okay, but it's not great. But now with AI, I could plop that article into like Notebook LM and be like, spit out a video or a podcast for me, and it can take that content and give me exactly what I wanted from that article into another artifact that I can share with students. So it's been huge for that. And I think one of the other great uses for UDL too is the ability to like kind of test out activities or assessments or whatever you have with personas. Like I love the persona thing and with AI, like plopping in, here's a case study of a potential student I have in my class. What kind of barriers might this student encounter in this assessment or this activity? What are some things I'm not thinking about? Just to pick up on some of those blind spots that, we miss as educators because we approach it from this is how I learn or this is how I've done it. So I love just getting that other lens and thinking about what diverse students might be experiencing in the class.
That's interesting you said that. We were at an AI retreat, and I was at a table with Deb and Dave, and we came up with this concept, and I had Claude run through it, and it started creating 6 or 7 agents running.
That's right.
With all the different running through this to see. It ate up all
your credits.
So I couldn't even finish it, but it was interesting to see it run. I was like, we're at 6 agents. I was like, Dave, we're at 6 agents now. I didn't even tell it to run 6 agents.
But it was like doing exactly what you said.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was running through all these different criteria to see if this will meet all those standards.
That's amazing.
But I got to rerun that now that you made me think about that. I had to stop it because I ran out of credits.
Well, the credits have reset.
That's right. So could you give an example of a bad UDL or how you would change it or how you did change it to make it a stronger UDL approach?
I think...
Or is there a bad UDL? I don't know.
I think there can be. I think, too much choice can be an issue. We don't want to every single 8 options. Learning
analysis paralysis.
That's too much for students. And you also at the same point don't want to be like, here's the final project, do it whatever way you want. We want to create some structure and parameters around things. So choice is good, but choice within limits is better. So I have seen that before where I've seen instructors sometimes just kind of load resources as here's 50 optional choices to pick from, do what you want. And it gets to be a little bit too much. I think, thinking carefully about where we put choice into our courses and thinking about what resources we're providing intentionally is really important with it. I don't want to call anybody out with it.
No, you're good.
What's Paul doing specifically that we can improve?
Dang it. I see her in my course that I'm developing all the time, and she's like, why are you doing this?
Not at all.
Not again.
So we offer a transcript for the podcast. We offer the audio version. We offer the video version.
Awesome.
Is that UDL?
That is UDL.
High five, Paul. High five.
You're doing it.
We done good. Hey, Jeff. We done good.
What's something FLCC is doing? Obviously, the Immersive Lens is doing this, but what's something FLCC is doing in the UDL space that you are especially proud of?
Oh, a lot. I think first and foremost, I was so excited when I saw this job posted here. I don't know of any other college in the country, especially any community college that has a UDL specialist, somebody specifically working on this. And the fact that it's written into FLCC's strategic plan, I think, is huge. I think this is one of those pie-in-the-sky ideas that a lot of colleges talk about, and they're like, yeah, we're all about UDL, but actually putting it in the strategic plan, having folks dedicated to working on it is huge. And I know our online learning folks are working really hard to incorporate UDL into all of the course reviews that they're doing as well. So it's something that's really becoming ingrained at a higher level at FLCC.
Nice. You're leaving a legacy.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Building an empire.
But at the ground level, I see so many faculty implementing it. Jen Carney is a great example of the work she's doing with AI prompts. And
friend of the pod.
Yeah, friend of the pod.
Lindsay.
There's so many faculty who are implementing it, putting it into place, and trying to learn more about it too, which is huge. It's not just talk and it's not just policy at the top. Like, it's actually happening, which is awesome. So, yeah, there's a lot to be proud of here.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really good. And what would you want students at FLCC to know about resources available to them, and how do institutions message that effectively? And we'll say FLCC, but maybe other institutions as well, maybe, if you're aware of it.
Yeah. I think access to resources is one of those tricky things. I think that just making sure that students know that it's not about, I'm struggling and need extra help, that it's really resources are there to help them optimize their experience, optimize their learning. So whether it's disability services or tutoring services or health and wellness services, they're all there to help them be as successful as they can be at school. So I think the more that we can talk about that and normalize going to it, it's going to be really helpful. I love when faculty bring it up in the first couple classes and talk about it, not like it's here's where you go if you want help, but like, here are some of the awesome things that you can make use of as a student that are free to you, and maybe giving them examples of like, here's when you might want to do that. And checking in with students throughout the semester, too. Like, if you notice they're struggling, like, reminding them of resources and helping to make sure that they know that they can connect with them. So I think the more we normalize, the more we talk about seeking help, the more we're going to get students to buy into it.
What's interesting is I always push tutoring, especially for programming, because I think sometimes people overthink it. And and I say I'm like, okay, guys, there's tutoring available online, in person, and you know what I have to do is my first class, I literally walk them and I introduce them to our tutor, and I say, this is so-and-so, and they can help you.
That's awesome.
And after I did that, I found that more students were open to contacting them for support. So it's an interesting, you do have to make them feel like welcome to it. This is good. This is why it's here.
Right.
I'm glad and when anyone says that I spoke with the tutor, I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. Like this is a good thing. Like,
positive reinforcement.
Positive
because
reinforcement.
it's not like, I can't believe you did that, you should be doing it on your own. It's like,
right.
That's awesome. That's what they're there for. We need that more. Tell other people. And I also tell them to work in groups, because I find that if two people went down to the lab to work together next to each other on a computer, and they're going through like the tutorials, they help each other out, and then I feel like it's a motivator. They get through it easier because they're both there trying to troubleshoot any
support.
issue.
Yeah, that's huge.
So I don't know. That was just interesting to me when I was doing that. But
yeah, that's a great strategy. And I love that you brought the tutor in too, like getting that personal connection and seeing a person's face, because sometimes that can be anxiety provoking, if you're going someplace brand new and you're like, I don't know who this person is and if they're approachable or anything. So
well, he used to come to class, but it was a weird, like, I had to physically.
Well, their room is kind of hard to find too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, but it's funny because even coming to class didn't do it. It was the actual, like, look, and there's food here on occasions.
Oh, wait, there's food there?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I always bring it up. I'm like, hey, guys, I'm not joking. Just go in, see if he's there, and there's a donut,
snack.
grab a donut or a coffee, or, like, just any incentive to, like, it's a good thing. Yeah, it's a good thing to be there, and I don't know.
No, it's a good idea.
That's awesome.
It's
food is a good idea.
Food is a good idea.
What?
It's like my first year teaching here, I would be like, and then we'll go. You should check out the library because they have cool study rooms, and then I was like, I don't know if anyone's going. So the next semester I did that. I walked them up to the library, and it's like tangible, and they know the route to get there, and they can see it's like not super scary.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So if you could change one thing about in general how institutions approach accessibility tomorrow, what would it be?
Building it in from the start. Just that proactive design. In the accessibility world, a lot of times we say it's a shift left. So it's basically in your workflow, go back. Go back a step or go back to the beginning and start there with accessibility, because you're always too far ahead. Yeah. So thinking about accessibility and policy at the top-down level, thinking about it in our, day-to-day practices. Again, training, I think, is huge. Embedding that into any kind of training that we're offering or onboarding. whatever we can do to like bring about awareness, I think is great. And I'm probably the only person on campus, or one of the only people on campus, who's super excited about Title II of the ADA going into effect.
Can you just explain what Title II is briefly?
So Title II is part of the ADA that is...
Can you just explain what the ADA is?
The Americans with Disabilities Act. Thank you. So let me step back.
Shift left, please.
Yes, shift left. It's a federal law.
Okay.
Went into effect in 1990. No, but Title II is the part that applies to public entities, including public colleges and municipalities and whatnot. And what happened is a couple years ago, they said now all digital content that falls under Title II of the ADA needs to be made proactively accessible. So it has to meet these set of international accessibility standards. So for our institution and all other organizations that serve over 50,000 people, our deadline is April of 2027. So we're going to need to make sure that all of our digital content is fully accessible by that time. And I know everything. And I know it's a huge lift, but it's a good thing because that's going to allow all of our community members, our students, faculty and staff to come in day one into their environment and be able to access that content and not have to ask for a different modality or ask for an accommodation.
Cool.
So to me, that's exciting. I know it's a big lift and everybody else is like, oh, wow, this is a lot to figure out. But I'm super excited about it.
And I assume that this doesn't mitigate timing or anything like that. Like that's still... Like if there's a timed exam or a proctored exam, that doesn't mean, nope, we got to get rid of that so everyone is able to take it, right?
Right. No, absolutely not. That's disability services isn't going anywhere. There are always going to be accommodations for students that can't be met by proactive accessibility or UDL for that matter. So yeah, there still will be accommodations for students.
Okay. And then what does success look like for UDL and how do you know when it's working?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I think on the student side, you're going to see a reduction in the number of those accommodations being requested because their needs are being met in the classroom already. I think hopefully you're going to see students who are more engaged and more interested in their coursework because you've built in that choice and they're able to learn in the ways they want and demonstrate their knowledge in the ways they want. For faculty, I think in the long run, it's going to be less work too. I know there is some lift at the beginning when you start changing things up. But in the long run, you're going to have fewer students who are coming in and requesting, reassessments or, makeup exams because you will have already had policies put in place to address that stuff. You're also going to have kind of the fewer one-off accommodation requests, especially from students who don't work with disability services, because, again, a lot of those things will be built into the flexibility that UDL provides. So that's kind of the be-all, end-all goal is a happier, more engaged college campus.
So hearing you say that, and maybe this question is too reductive, but could I in my course syllabus and on the first day of class and sporadically throughout the semester be like, look, folks, at the end of this chapter or the end of the unit, like there's a paper, there's whatever it is. But listen, like if you have an idea, just pitch it to me. And like if you want to do an oral exam or you want to do an oral presentation or something like that, like I'm game. Is that just a weak attempt or is that a genuine attempt at UDL?
I think it's a genuine attempt. And I think, it's one of those things too, when you're just giving this a try and starting off in it, like, yeah, see what works, see what issues you run into. Like if a student says, yeah, I'm going to do a video recording instead of writing a paper and you can see what were the issues that came up with that, what sorts of things was I not thinking about in terms of, fairness with other students, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I think you can absolutely give that a try. Cool. And then if you find it works, you could, in the future, structure it in and be like, yeah, here are the 4 options that I have available. And I'm horrible about bumping this.
It's okay.
I talk with my hands too much.
That's right. She's hitting the mic. She's not happy with it.
Security. Can we get security in here?
We need better design.
Universal design for mics.
Floating.
Yeah. I like that.
So we thought we'd have fun at the end here. We have 3 different activities we'd like to try with you.
Okay.
A UDL makeover, a speed round, this or that.
Okay.
And then a UDL Mythbusters.
Mythbusters.
Does that work for you, Dave?
Yeah, that works for me.
Amy,
all right,
good?
I'm ready, yeah.
All right. So the first one is you're going to UDLify it.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Put me on the spot.
Can we coin that term?
I'm going to see that domain.
Yeah. UDL5. So in 30 seconds or less, I'll give you a one size fits all teaching scenario, and then you can fix it in 30 seconds or less.
Okay.
Or your thoughts on it.
All right.
No pressure.
No pressure.
No pressure.
I'll do my best.
All right. Pop quiz, closed book, 1 hour, no accommodations. Go.
Well, that's illegal, first of all.
Wait, that's illegal?
you can't deny accommodations.
Oh, okay.
But you can do a pop quiz.
You could do a pop quiz. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd rather you didn't. UDLify, I would remove the pop quiz portion. Instead, put in place maybe some low stakes or no stakes formative assessments to give students the feedback that they need. And then if you're going to provide a formalized assessment, let's give students a little bit of notice and ensure that there are accommodations in place. And, remove those time limits. Make it a 1 question, 1 hour exam that should take people 5 minutes, but they can take the whole hour if they want.
What about closed book? Is that okay?
I think it depends on the intent. Yeah. If you need students to recall information, if that's what you're testing, so let's say it's an anatomy exam and you want students to be able to identify body parts, it makes sense to be closed book. If it's more about applying concepts and not straight memorization, then maybe you don't need it to be closed book. I think that's a judgment call depending on the assessment. Most of the time, I think in higher ed, though, there's not a lot of recall being tested unless it is like a
it was a good example of
straight
AMP.
Parts. Yeah.
All right, next up, read chapters 1 through 5. There will be a test.
Oh. So UDL, we can provide them with some options for that. If they can have an audio version of the text, or again, if there's choice, if you have a video or a podcast that they can watch instead and get that same information. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with tests, but again, choice is always a good thing. A lot of students don't do well with testing, so if we can provide an option of an exam or a reflection paper or, a creative art project to demonstrate learning, whatever it may be, choice is always a good thing.
All right. Cool. I like it.
So this is the last one for this.
Okay.
If you miss class, you miss the notes.
I don't like that. No.
You don't like any of these. Oh my god.
I know, traditional teaching styles, right?
These are taken directly from Paul's syllabus, by the way.
Hey.
Oh man.
I'm going to be devil's advocate in a minute, but go ahead.
So, students miss class for a bunch of reasons. One of the things that I love when I see faculty do it is have a collaborative note-taking, have a Google Doc or a shared online slide deck where students can all work together to add notes to it. And that way, if a student has to miss class for whatever reason, they can get access to the information and they're not putting the burden on the faculty member or one student in the class to share those notes. So you're getting collaborative understanding, which is generally a good thing. I mean, ideally, if the faculty member had time to go through and clear up any misunderstandings that were written in those notes, that would probably be good. But,
sure. Oh, yes.
But it does give other students the opportunity, too, to chime in and be like, no, that's not what he said, or that's not what this meant, and correct that. So, yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you what I do first with this.
Okay.
I WebEx everything. Mm-hmm. So I record all my lectures, and it has closed captioning. And then once it's done, I put it in Brightspace, so you always can go back. And even if you were in class, sometimes people say I go a little fast for them, but I'm trying to keep a pace with the average user in class. Otherwise, we fall way behind sometimes. So they'll go back. And they'll use that.
I love it.
That WebEx.
A, I didn't know you did that for every class. That's cool. B, you might have to explain what WebEx at class means for.
Oh yeah. So we use WebEx, and so
instead of Zoom.
Instead of Zoom, it's just a conference, and in this, our platform allows us to record our lectures and our video. And I'm fortunate enough that I'm in rooms that have our faculty or facilities and IT hooked us up. Mm-hmm. So we have WebEx in every room here set up so cameras are automatic. They follow you, and I have a little switcher. And so I'll just record my lectures so they can see my PowerPoints. They can see me talking. If we're demonstrating something, I switch it so the camera's looking at whatever I'm demonstrating. and then I'll post that so then they can go and literally watch the class again if they needed to, or skip, or it's a summary of it so you can jump to different sections.
You should put those all. Yeah, you should put those in the old Notebook LM, the new Gemini Notebook, and for the whole semester, and then you have like a study guide, make study guides and stuff.
Oh, that's good. That's
UDL for the win.
All right. So like now I'm going to be devil's advocate.
Okay.
All right. So Amy, in the workforce, if you miss a meeting, are you expecting me to cater toward your different needs, or are you, because this is one thing I always hear is, and I know that we're creating a safe environment, but are we setting up the students to expect us in the workforce that, there's a deadline at 12 o'clock, we're going live on air.
Yeah.
I don't care if your accommodation says that you get 5 hours additional to meet this deadline. We have a deadline at 12 o'clock because it's live.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's a valid question.
Are we, even here, there are deadlines, and sometimes they're deadlines for a reason. Like if we have a basketball game and we're shooting, the basketball game is at 1 o'clock, regardless of any accommodation you might have, right?
Yeah.
So you need to be there. You need to shoot. There's no. What is your take on that aspect when you hear? And I understand that even in workforces there's accommodations, but that is what I hear a lot. Is that, are we setting our students up
right
for failure if we're making all of these accommodations?
Yeah, I know. It's a fair question. It is something that I've heard a lot too. And I don't think that there's one right answer to it. You are correct that there are accommodations in the workplace. And so even when our students leave and get into a job, if they have accommodations that are reasonable, whether that's flexibility with deadlines or flexible work schedule, like those do happen in the workplace. I think, too, that we need to sometimes separate out the way that higher ed is structured and the way that we have kind of these, I don't want to say artificial deadlines, but they're essentially made up. Somebody makes the deadline for whatever reason in their course, and students have to meet them, from what a work environment might be like and the diverse kind of work environments that our students might enter, right? Like not many work environments look exactly like higher ed where you have a syllabus and here's your set of deadlines. And there are some that are very much like we have a project and here's our dates that we have to meet things. So I think sometimes what we look at in higher ed doesn't always translate completely to what the workforce experience might be for students. We also have students who can kind of self-select into where they're going, right? So while they may have this kind of structured environment in higher ed, maybe their future career is something that's more, hands-on and physical and is not so much sitting at a desk deadline-based or something that is more creative and free-flowing and they kind of work at their own pace. Yes, some students may struggle in the more traditional environment, but that's part of the, I don't want to say the life lessons, but growing up and figuring out what works best for you, what modalities work best for you. And I think that's one of the strengths of UDL in particular versus the accommodation model is we're not teaching, but we're giving students the opportunity to kind of figure out what does work for me, what is the kind of environment that I need, versus prescribing for them, this is what it's going to be, and here's how we modify for it.
So they're armed and ready. If they go into workforce, they say, you know what, I'm going to approach it this way because I know that this works for me based on what I...
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
So I'm sorry.
No, please go ahead.
I think it's tricky too because our end goal in higher ed is we want them to learn the content, right? Like we're not teaching them to be expert workers. We're not teaching them to be expert anything necessarily. We want them to be good learners. We want them, maybe expert learners is the one thing that we're aiming for. We want them to know the content so that they can go and take that content, that information, that understanding, then apply it in the workforce. But we're not necessarily training them how to be a productive member of the workforce, at least not intentionally, right? That's maybe part of like the inadvertent outcomes of just higher ed and education in general. But like our ultimate goal should just be to teach them what they need to know. And the rest is going to be, for them to figure out and navigate.
Okay.
So, Yeah, it's a tough question. I don't have a solid
No, I put you on the spot too. I was just thinking,
it's okay.
It just came to me when you were saying that. I was like, I know there's some people that have that strict policy.
Yeah.
I would like to express my gratitude for you extending UDL to me because I was 10 minutes late to the podcast recording this morning. So speaking of deadlines.
All right. Are you ready for a speed round?
I'm ready. Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it.
That's the sound effect for that.
This or that.
Good. Now I don't have to put that audio in.
Yeah, you won't have to fix that in post.
All right. So this or that. Lecture or discussion?
Oh, discussion.
Rubric or no rubric?
Definitely a rubric.
Syllabus as a contract or a roadmap?
Roadmap.
Office hours or open door?
Oh, open door.
Textbook or no textbook?
OER?
Okay. Oh,
for the win!
Right.
Open educational resource. That's like a free textbook that could be online, it could be print. All right.
Yeah.
Grading on a curve or standards based?
Standards.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think you picked all the right answers. Actually, there was a right and wrong answer, and you picked all the right ones.
Oh, good.
So you're telling me you're gonna talk to administration and say that the syllabus is no longer a contract, and we don't need office hours. That we will just be available as students need us.
Totally.
Awesome.
No.
Just as a reminder, this podcast does not necessarily reflect the views of FLCC here.
I have no power here either.
The administration. Yeah, that's right. We'll have to make sure we emphasize that tagline. All right, here we go. UDL Mythbusters.
Okay.
Wait, we need a theme song for this. Do 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 do.
Something a little creepy, a little myth.
Oh,
we need the Unsolved Mysteries theme. You can stitch that in after.
What's the unsolved mystery?
Oh, it's super spooky.
All right. Oh man, now you're making. I thought I wasn't gonna do the work.
Well, now you are.
Now I am. All right. Do you want to start this one off?
Yeah. You just have to say myth or truth.
Okay.
UDL just means more work for the professor.
Oh, myth.
UDL is only for students with disabilities.
Myth.
If you give students options, they will always pick the easiest one.
Myth.
UDL lowers academic standards.
Myth.
Wow. These are all
They're
myths.
all myths.
Man.
Who wrote this thing?
I don't know. Did you want to expand on any of those things or?
Yeah, I think the standards one I have heard quite a bit. People are worried, and then you hear that with accommodations too, that they're lowering standards. They don't have to meet the same criteria, and that's not true at all. Because the whole thing with UDL, it goes back to kind of that GPS analogy, right? Like we're all working towards that same learning objective, and if you have very well thought out learning objectives and set skills or standards that the students have to meet, it shouldn't matter how they get there. If they can demonstrate their understanding in different ways, as long as they're getting there, they're meeting that same rigorous criteria. So that's where those, talking about rubrics, I love rubrics, especially when it comes to UDL, because if you're giving choices for assessment, like if somebody's doing a paper and somebody else is doing a presentation and somebody else is doing like a multimedia portfolio, you really need a rubric to bring that all together and say, here are the things that you have to demonstrate regardless of the modality in which you do it. So having a good, well thought out rubric that gives students set standards and keeps that rigor in those standards is a great thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting because this is always tough for me too. If there is a standard, like you have to show how you do this, like, and I'm just going to use this as an example. You have to show me that you can integrate sound into an animation. Mm-hmm. But if you're deaf, you can't hear it. Mm-hmm. So I had a student one time say, well, do I need to do this? And I said, so listen, I'm less interested in, because I'm sure this wouldn't necessarily be your job, but I'm less interested in what you're putting in there, more that you know how to do it. Mm-hmm. So I said, this is what you can do. Go look at, and I gave him a link to a sound library. Just read the names, download it, and insert it into your file. And then look for sound waves. And when you see the peaks, just kind of base it off of those sound waves. And I said, then moving forward, now that I know that you've done that, I want you to do descriptive text in the animation. So this way that would be your audio is using the descriptive text.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was just an interesting, but I've never had that happen until I want to say recently, but it was a rubric. And to your point about rubric, that's where I'm coming to. The rubric item was, integrating sound into your animation. And okay, regardless of your ability, that is so how do we achieve it?
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if that's UDL or not, or I don't know what it is, but
it's something. Yeah, that's thinking creatively about how to get access. So yeah, absolutely.
And until you were talking, I didn't even realize it, but like audio files are multimodal because you can see the waveforms.
Right.
Yes. Now you don't necessarily make out, and it's funny because that's what I was using. What I was using it for something in the class. In our podcast, I was doing an edit or something, and I was looking at the waveforms to determine what we're doing. And when we slate, we have a spike, and that spike indicates a syncing, and so we use that sound wave to align. Now it automatically aligns, so you don't.
The computer does it.
Yeah, you just select everything and hit synchronize, and it hits that mark for you, so you don't need to do it. But anyway, that was what got me thinking about how they could approach it.
Yeah, that's a great example.
So is there anything else?
Yeah, what didn't we ask that you just want to
say? I think, since you guys talk about AI, I think with the accessibility side of things, there's a lot of excitement with what AI can do to help with digital accessibility. But I want to caution people, too, about it because the AI agents are trained on what's out there and what exists. And so when we look at like websites, for example, HTML that's being built, like 90% of websites around the world have at least one accessibility error on the page. And so this is what these models have been trained on. So while I will, sit there and pump in all of my criteria and instructions into Claude or into Gemini and say, create this perfectly accessible web page or whatnot, and then it tells me it's perfectly accessible. That's not always the case. So I think that, one of the things that I wanted to mention was just how AI is really going to be an exciting agent. I want people to play with it and explore it, especially with accessibility and UDL. But we have to be very cautious about what it's actually producing when we're asking it to give us content.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
But in my courses, could I use AI and be like, hey, here's the assignment I have for this chapter? Like, UDLify it. Yeah. And then it can give me, like, instead of +1, like +4.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
So you're talking about kind of like the technical, like
the more technical side of things. Yeah, I've been seeing people like crank out some, even PowerPoint presentations and things like that. And yeah, so Claude will be like, yeah, it's perfect. And then you go and look at it and it's not quite there yet. So I'm excited for AI. It has a lot of potential for power, but I hope that we can keep training it on good models.
Yeah, what's interesting is I was using AI and I'm helping or developing a course right now, and one of the things it mentioned is, have them create the video, but then have them put a sentence underneath that explains what the video was about. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I mean, most of these things have auto captioning anyway, but it was an interesting approach, and I think it specifically said so this way it accommodates both if a person can't hear it, they can read what the summary is. So
I would actually use AI to do that summary too.
Well, it's there. So all right, Laura for her marketing
friend
courses, friend of the pod. She does a video icebreaker, and I was like, and she said it builds a better connection. I go, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to add a video icebreaker for everybody to do a little video and introduce themselves.
Nice. Very cool.
But that's when I was writing that out, that's when it said make sure that they write a little one sentence summary of what they're, it's simple questions like coffee or iced or tea,
That's
so
great.
It's nothing that's groundbreaking as far as...
No, but it's helpful, though.
Yeah, you're +1ing all the time.
You are.
Well, I love seeing what other people do, because when I see that, and because I usually just have a regular icebreaker, and it's just text, and then I saw what she did, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's a better connection for me to see them, let alone the class itself.
Yeah. Is this for in person or online?
Online only.
Okay.
Yeah, just strictly online. Because when you're in person,
Yeah, but it would be nice if you did that, because then I used to take pictures of my learners the first day in high school for the seating chart, but I'd study them at night so then I could learn their names faster.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. We have icebreakers in class too, but they do it obviously in the, you can see each other while you're doing the icebreaker. But all right, very good. Well, I think that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Yeah. Hopefully maybe we'll bring you back on later on and you can tell us maybe how the semester has gone and if there's been advancements.
We will title that class UDL +2.
+2. I like it. Right. The next generation.
That's right. My name is Paul Engin.
I'm Dave Ghidiu. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to smash that like and subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Let's be careful out there, folks.
And share it with a friend or colleague or enemy. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and thanks for looking through the Immersive Lens with us.
This episode was engineered by Jeff Kidd.
Recorded at Finger Lakes Community College Podcast Studios, located in beautiful Canandaigua, New York, in the heart of the Finger Lakes region, offering more than 55 degrees, certificates, micro-credentials, and workforce training programs.
Thank you to Public Relations and Communications, Marketing, and the FLX AI Hub.
Eager to delve into passion, discover exciting and immersive opportunities at the World FLCC building. Oh, wait. It's all iconography.
Those are emojis.
Amy? Oh, yeah. It looks like Epcot.
That's epcot.dragon.school.
www.flcc.edu.
As part of our mission at FLCC, we are committed to making education accessible, innovative, and aligned with the needs of both learners and employers.
All right, here we go. This is the big one.
Listen up, legal team.
The views expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests.
Mostly Amy.
And do not necessarily reflect the official position of Finger Lakes Community College.
Music by Den from Pixabay.
This is the Immersive Lens. All right. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
So that was our dry run.
Yeah.
And now we're going to do it and record it.
Yeah.
Yay.
All right. Are we ready to roll, Jeff? Okay, thank you. All right, here we go.
All right, bathroom stop.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me. Oh, it feels so quiet. So.
Right.